Good morning, everybody. Today we've got the Live Ladies of Literature Book Review TV show. I am one of your hosts, Adra Young, and I am with my other host, Tracy Christian, and today we will be interviewing our guest, Shaka Senghor. Good morning, Shaka. How are you?
I'm good, Adrian. How about yourself?
Great. So let's start off by asking you this. What pursued you to write? What made you want to take thoughts and actually place them in books? What turned on that light?
I was inspired to start writing while I was serving a 19-year prison sentence. I was introduced to literature very early on. The first book that really kind of opened up my mind to really reading on a real level was Donald Goines' Dope Fiend. And once I started reading that opened up the doors for me to read like Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, books that really transformed and changed my life.
So, tell me about your first book, Crack, and what actually inspired you to write it. And by the way, it's a great, great book. You know, some titles will throw you off, but when I read this book, it had a great plot. The summary was great. The ending was great. Just the overall good book. You know, it went beyond the title. So just tell us a little bit more about why you wrote Crack.
The inspiration for writing Crack was I really wanted to write a story that had real characters. I always wanted to write a story about a strong, powerful black male role model, and I think I accomplished that with Detective Jensen, who deals with the social ramifications of the crack epidemic. And so really, Crack was a metaphor for the broken psyche that gave birth to the crack epidemic, which kind of destroyed our community. And I wanted to really write textured, layered characters that really had some substance that you can root for, that you can cheer for, as well as fall in love with.
That leads directly into the question I wanted to ask you because, urban fiction can get a little mundane, and you put a little mystery and suspense and all that into it. Now, was it your love of the authors that you had read before that made you want to write something that was a little more gritty and that would stand out in urban fiction?
Yeah, my inspiration for writing from a different perspective, I mean, I had read some of the more recent street stories, and I just felt like they were kind of too boring, kind of too straight through, and I always wanted to write something that kind of keep you on the edge of your seat. And I was inspired by some of like the greatest writers in history from the Harlem Renaissance, writers like Chester Himes, who really captured the urban community, as well as some of the contemporary artists like Walter Mosley and artists like that, who really kind of keep you guessing like what's going to happen next. And so that's the fun for me as a writer.
You could tell that. It's not your regular just street fiction. It has a little bit of everything, and I think that is ideal. And I wanted to ask also, was Crack intended as a series, or did you just have so much fun writing part one, you're like, I got to come out with a part two?
Yeah, I mean the characters when I created these characters, it was really just about following their journey, allowing them to become who they were organically. And some of the characters I just fell in love with, and I was like, it was some things that I left kind of unresolved in volume one. I felt like it was still room for growth, and I wanted people to be able to grow and go on this journey with them because the response had been like people really love these characters and would talk about them like if they was real people.
Right.
And so I was like, well, let me bring some stuff out far as the relationship dynamics and just the growth that characters like Damu went through, going from the streets to legitimate business. And I mean, it's just fun. These characters, I love them. They like family to me now.
In the book, in the first book, Damu, very rarely do you see, because I don't want to tell the whole plot because people, you still need to read part one. Get part two, get soaked. But in part one, the way that he evolved from becoming that villain that he became was just totally amazing. So what made you want to have him come from the military? If you don't mind me asking you that.
I think when you deal with issues of crime, you deal with issues of drug dealing. Typically we have this stereotype of what a drug dealer is, or what a criminal is. And what it was is that I wanted to show that here was a man who had went through the army, who had saw the American dream, but he also got a chance to really see the political nature and the makeup of America as it exists, and he came back home to a very different reality. And I wanted to show how sometimes you can make one decision that can create just this tidal wave of poor decision making, and that was one of the things I wanted to showcase.
You most definitely did, because in the beginning of the book, I didn't see that coming. So that was a great flip. You know what I mean? Talk about, a good, decent kid coming from the military and doing a total overhaul. That was wow. Um, some of the children that were in the terrible, terrible situations that they were in the book, could is it okay for me to ask, will we see them appear in Crack too, or? Oh wow, that's that's awesome. Okay, because I just thought we would just hear about them briefly and then that would be it. Okay, so we're gonna see them. Okay, see them grow up a little bit. I'm not gonna spoil it because they call it spoilers. People, they don't want you taking everything from it. That's great.
Okay, Shaka, you know, now let me make sure that I clarify. You are a indie author, correct? You are an indie author, so you're independent, meaning that you publish on your own. And of course, I know I made plenty of mistakes, and I wanted to find out on your journey with Volume 1 along with Volume 2, what are some of your words of wisdom for people out here who really want to publish? You know, what are some of the mistakes that you might have made or found when you did Volume 1 that you're trying to correct and make sure you don't do with the release of Volume 2?
I think the biggest thing is understanding your book is an extension of your brand as a person. I think a lot of people think that once they write a book and it's good, that it's just going to fly off the shelves and that you're not going to have to do any work. But you really have to build your brand as an author. You have to build your brand as a person, and you have to find different ways to get your book into as many people's hands as possible. Some of the mistakes that I've made is probably just being overly optimistic. I'm a very ambitious person. I'm a very goal-oriented, and I'm a firm believer in what I put my stamp on. And I think that's probably been like the greatest challenges. Just, you know, sometimes you meet with rejection. You meet with people who don't want to take your flyer, who don't want to purchase a book, and you just have to go back to the lab and be like, you know, okay, it is what it is. They don't know what they're missing out on. But I mean, it's definitely a challenge trying to do it and live your life at the same time. So the biggest thing is just stand behind your brand and understand that you are your brand, and your book is just one component of it.
And then also, hold up your third book. I just want to put up that he not only has his own series, but he's also been open to being a contributing author with an anthology, Soaking Wet, as well. And I have to say, even though I know you personally, I enjoyed your story. I enjoyed your story. So I just enjoy your writing. And I want you to tell our audience about the other writing efforts that you have, because you are not just a fiction author.
Well, I'm currently working on my memoir. I write poetry. I've wrote essays. I've written for the newspaper since I've been home. I just love writing. I write notes on Facebook and share them with people. But I love to write things that inspire people to either think differently, feel differently, or act differently. I think that's the greatest aspect of writing. When I did the story in Soaking Wet, it's kind of like so far removed from who I am in my outwardly day-to-day life, and some people was like, wow, he's writing erotica. But I mean, I'm multi-talented and multi-dimensional as a writer, and I think that's important, is to have creative freedom and liberation to write whatever you feel. So you might see me writing horror, you might see me writing sci-fi. I mean, just whatever I'm inspired to write, that's what I'm gonna do, you know. But you know, I've written children's books as well, and you know, so those things are just, I love to write, you know, and I think it's one of the greatest mediums to connect with people and to share and tell stories that can actually inspire people to do different things, even if it, you know, something like Soaking Wet, you know, inspiration for somebody.
Oh,
So,
Piggybacking on Tracy's question, as it regards to being an independent author, you're also an independent publisher. So tell us a little bit more about your publishing company, the year it was founded, and what are your goals for that? And as far as now and the future, what are the goals for your publishing company?
well, I'm the co-owner of Drop a Gem Publishing with my partner, who is actually my fiance, Ebony. We tossed titles around, like what we would name the company, and we decided that Drop a Gem was best fitting because instead of preaching to people, it was more about how can you just drop these jewels of wisdom and entertain people at the same time. And ultimately, our goal is to bring a whole fresh voice to street literature, to urban literature, and to kind of give people the motivation to write from a street perspective, but to also add some socially redeeming, politically redeeming, and emotionally redeeming qualities that will help our community grow and really appreciate literature and the power of it to transform lives.
Real quick before I turn it back over to Tracy, you want to tell us your website?
Yes, you can find my books at dropagem.publishing.com. You can check me out on Facebook at Shaka Senghor, Twitter, And then you can find me in the hood selling out the trunk. And we also just opened our own book boutique called Drop a Gem Book Boutique, which is located at 10608 Joy Road, 2 blocks east of Myers. And we're just really excited about some of the things that we'll be doing in the future.
Well, we are so happy to have you on today.
Okay, you know how time flies when we're having fun, so it's almost over and you get ready to go back on the grind. But I want you to tell us about any upcoming events that you, as well as Drop a Gem Publishing and the Book Boutique, tell us what's coming up and what we need to look forward to.
Well, August the 6th, I have what I feel like is one of my most important book signings because it's actually in the old neighborhood where I caught the case that led to my incarceration. And that's going to be held at the Motor City Java House, so I'm really excited about that. Being able to bring something positive to that community, knowing that our help contributed so much negative back in the days, like that means a lot to me. And then August the 27th, we have the grand opening of the Drop a Gem Book Boutique. And I'm very excited about that. We want to do some positive things, get some vendors to come out, get some community activists to come out and just engage the children and be able to provide them with a good day and set the tone for what we can be in our own community. So those are things I'm excited about. And then my thing I'm most excited about is I have a son on the way. So we should be celebrating that in December. So I'm super excited about that.
So it just looks like the live lady's gonna be hanging out with you all of August, and then we're gonna come and bless the baby as well. Well, let me tell you first, we want to thank you so much, you and Ebony, coming out, and being on our inaugural filming of this show. And you're welcome back anytime. Drop the website one more time.
DropAGemPublishing.com.
Shaka, thank you so much, and thank you for tuning in to the Live Ladies of Literature book reviews on Modern Tribe TV. See you next time. I'm Tracy Christian, and on behalf of my partner, Adra Young, we like to say so long.